What's going on, everybody? David Mitchell here, voice of Autism, episode 46. And yes, I got some pretty unique stuff for today's video. And I also will give you guys update on what's been happening. Oh yeah, I'm wearing a shirt that with word Filipino on it, for Philippines. The Infinite did message me. I know he probably getting ready to watch the live stream. But yeah, the reason why I notified everybody that I don't have a job anymore because they had to let me go. The reason why is because one, they did not have enough work hours for me. That's the reason why. But that was one of the reasons why. And I will have to find a new job, but it'll be a while before I find one. So that's something I'm still working on. But yeah, on hashtag Filipino, fiance, with my fiance, particularly took on my girlfriend Val. I have her YouTube channel down linked below. And he had the Filipino flag right here. But, you know. And also, you gotta know my people Autism speaks. You guys probably already know it. And I found a movement out there called the Autism Right Movement, which I'm officially going to be a part of. I'm going to be part of the Autism Right Movement, but I have it on my reason why. Four simple reasons why people do not support Autism Speak is from an autistic mother, and her autistic son.
4 simple reasons I don't support Autism Speaks. Inside, 4 reasons to not support Autism Speaks are a must-read for all autism mamas. They're the most popular autism organization, but they're so harmful. When we found out that a man is autistic, I went into research mode, like I do with everything. Eventually, that research led me to realize I'm autistic myself. But before that happened, naturally, that research brought up the organization Autism Speaks. It's one of the largest autism organization in the country.
It's harmful.
I really wanted to get on board with this organization and become that mom of a child with autism with the blue puzzle piece on my car and educating people.
But the puzzle
piece is
not a good representation
and I've
seen
more and more posts about it. I felt that I needed to share my thoughts on the popular autism organization. As a mother of an autistic child, and as an autistic person myself, I do not and cannot support Autism Speaks, and I don't think that you should either. I realize that many people have only heard of Autism Speaks. Well-meaning folks do marathons and fundraisers for the popular organization not knowing the sad truth. 2. People light it up blue on April 2nd for Autism Awareness Day, and they have no idea about what this organization is truly for. 4 simple reasons I don't support Autism Speaks. Save. Autism Speaks doesn't help autistic people. Only 4% of their huge budget goes towards actually helping individuals with autism and their families with their family grants. Autism Speaks is arguably the largest autism organization in the country, and yet they really aren't focusing at all on helping families who actually experience autism. For a comparison, 22% of their budget is spent on fundraising efforts. I simply can't support an organization that pays their CEO such an obnoxious amount while they ignore the real needs of the families the organization claims to support. Autism Speaks is searching to end autism. Autism Speaks has the ultimate goal of ending autism by any means necessary. The majority of their funding goes towards autism research. Not research for improving therapies and equipment that helps individuals with autism, but research for a cure for autism. They are also trying to find a prenatal test for autism, similar to the one that they have for Down syndrome, so that mothers will no longer have autistic babies. As a mother of a child with autism, I wouldn't change a hair on his head. His autism does not define him, but it definitely plays a role in who he is. I would never take that away, and I would never, ever, wish that he hadn't been born because of his autism. And frankly, as an autistic person, I can't believe an organization that claims to represent me honestly wishes I were never born. Save. There is not one member of their board with autism. Autism Speaks is one of few disability charities that refuses to include individuals with disabilities on their board or in leadership positions. They are trying to make decisions regarding the future of autism without consulting any individuals with autism. In fact, after being criticized so heavily for this, Autism Speaks added John Elder Robinson, an author and autism advocate who has autism, to the board. He later resigned because the organization had no respect for individuals with autism and he could no longer align himself with their beliefs. You can read more about that here. For those who say that it's simply that there aren't autistic people interested and qualified, the Autistic Self-Advocacy Network's board includes several autistic self-advocates. Update: Autism Speaks has responded to this criticism and has added autistic members to their board. While it's a teeny, tiny, baby step in the right direction, it doesn't rectify the damage this organization has done. Autism Speaks uses disgusting marketing techniques. Autism Speaks says that they are all for spreading awareness of autism, but in reality, they are spreading only fear. Over the years they have produced some really terrible videos to market their organization that portray children with autism as something to fear. One of their videos is a commercial called I Am Autism, which you can find on YouTube here. It shows like a horror movie including lines like, I know where you live, and if you're happily married, I will make sure that your marriage fails, and you are scared, and you should be. They also made a movie called Autism Every Day, where mothers talk about how difficult their lives are because of their children with autism with their children in the room. Including a mother who says that she contemplated driving off a bridge with her child with autism, but only didn't because she also had a neurotypical child.
Yeah.
Seriously.
I seen that
she
video
says it.
too.
You can watch here.
Really pissed me
Overall,
off.
I just cannot in good conscience support Autism Speaks as the mother of an autistic child or as an autistic person myself. I know that these aren't common knowledge facts, but as you know more, you can do more. Please do not support this organization. If you are looking for autism organizations to support, please check out the Autistic Self-Advocacy Network. And if you'd really like to support more acceptance and understanding of autistic people, grab this free autism science cheat sheet to share with others.
You heard it right there, folks. It did from an article. But Autism Speak, here saying, if you really support it, you need to quit with all your trying to find a cure and all that. You need to seriously stop. Now, movement I told you guys about earlier that I'm a part of. It's called the Autism Right Movement. I'll bring up the article and I'll put it on the reader too. It's a longer article. And the movement I'm part of.
Autism Rights Movement. The rainbow-colored infinity symbol represents the diversity of the autism spectrum as well as the greater neurodiversity movement. Some autistic people prefer jigsaw puzzle piece-based symbols, others dislike them. 1. The Autism Rights Movement, ARM, also known as the Autistic Culture Movement, is a social movement within the neurodiversity and disability rights movements that encourages autistic people, their caregivers and society to adopt a position of neurodiversity, accepting autism as a variation in functioning rather than a disorder to be cured. 2. The ARM advocates a variety of goals including a greater acceptance of autistic behaviors. 3. Therapies that teach autistic individuals coping skills rather than therapies focused on imitating behaviors of neurotypical peers. 4. The creation of social networks and events that allow autistic people to socialize on their own terms. 5. And the recognition of the autistic community as a minority group. 6. Autism rights or neurodiversity advocates believe that the autism spectrum is genetic and should be accepted as a natural expression of the human genome. This perspective is distinct from two other likewise distinct views: the mainstream perspective that autism is caused by a genetic defect and should be addressed by targeting the autism genes, and the fringe theory that autism is caused by environmental factors like vaccines and pollution and could be cured by addressing environmental causes. 2. The movement is controversial. There are a wide variety of both supportive and critical opinions about the movement among people who are autistic or associated with people with autism. A common criticism leveled against autistic activists is that the majority of them are high-functioning or have Asperger's syndrome and do not represent the views of all autistic people. 7. Although some prominent figures in the movement, such as Amy Sequencia, 8, are nonverbal and have been labeled as low-functioning. History edit. Jim Sinclair was the first individual to communicate the anti-cure or autism rights perspective in the late 1980s. 2. In 1992, Sinclair co-founded the Autism Network International, an organization that publishes newsletters written by and for autistic people. Other individuals involved in the creation of the ANI were Donna Williams and Kathy Grant, two autistic individuals who knew Sinclair through pen pal lists and autism conferences. The first issue of the ANI newsletter, Our Voice, was distributed online in November 1992 to an audience of mostly neurotypical professionals and parents of young autistic children. The number of autistics in the organization grew slowly over the years, and it eventually became a communication network for like-minded autistics. 9. In 1996, a yearly retreat known as Autreat was established. Autreat is a United States retreat and conference hosted by the autism rights organization Autism Network International, specifically for autistic people. 10. As of 2012, Autreat has been held every year, except for 2001. In 2004, Michelle Dawson challenged applied behavior analysis (ABA) on ethical grounds. She testified in Auden v. British Columbia against the required government funding of ABA. 11. That same year, the New York Times covered the autism rights perspective by publishing Amy Harmon's article, How About Not Curing Us? Some autistics are pleading. 12. Aspies for Freedom, AFF, was founded in 2004 and established June 18 as Autistic Pride Day starting in 2005. AFF was also instrumental in initiating protests against the National Alliance for Autism Research, Cure Autism Now, and the Judge Rodenberg Center. 12. In 2006, the Autism Acceptance Project was founded by Estee Clark, the mother of an autistic child, with help from an autistic advisory and board. 13. The project affiliated with the Autistic Self-Advocacy Network and other activist groups in North America and was one of the first to sign the petition against the New York Child Study Campaign. It is also recognized by ASAN in a letter to the United Nations of being one of the first autism organizations to promote autism acceptance. From 2005-8, TAW Project organized arts-based events to show the public an active autism rights movement that burgeoned online. In addition, it sponsored the controversial Joy of Autism, Redefining Ability and Quality of Life events and lectures in Toronto, featuring dozens of autistic artists and speakers including Jim Sinclair, Michelle Dawson, Phil Schwartz, Morten Angernsbacher, Larry Bissonette and more. In 2014, TAW Project worked with York University to bring non-verbal autistic self-advocates who type to communicate, Larry Bissonette and Tracy Thresher, to discuss autism and screen the film Wretches and Jabberers. Estee Clark continues her work also in Critical Disability Studies PhD program at York University in Toronto. In 2008, the Autistic Self-Advocacy Network, ASAN, succeeded in halting two ad campaigns it stated were demeaning to autistics. The first ads were a series published by the NYU Child Study Center that appeared in the form of ransom notes. One read, "We have your son. We will make sure he will no longer be able to care for himself or interact socially as long as he lives. This is only the beginning," and was signed, Autism. 2. The second ads were published by PETA and featured a bowl of milk with the leftover bits of cereal forming a frowning face. The text read, "Got autism," and was meant to advertise what PETA claims is a link between autism and the casein in milk. Phone calls, letters and petitions organized by ASAN led to the removal of these ads. 15. The rise of the internet has provided more opportunities for autistic individuals to connect and organize. Considering the geographical distance, communication and speech patterns of autistic individuals, and the domination of neurotypical professionals and family members in established autism organizations, the internet has provided an invaluable space for members of the movement to organize and communicate. 9. Perspectives edit. The Autistic Self-Advocacy Network, ASAN, uses a 7-colored heptagonal symbol to represent both the autistic spectrum and the idea of diversity. 1. Some autistic
One
rights
I'm
activists
supporting.
believe some characteristics described as being autistic traits are actually misconceptions. 16. Michelle Dawson has disputed the belief that 75% of autistic people have low intelligence. 11. Psychiatrist Laurent Matron of Hôpital Rivière des Prairies in Montreal says that autistic people often score much higher on a nonverbal test of abstract reasoning than on a standard IQ test. 17. The UK's National Autistic Society claims the proportion of autistics with intellectual disability to be between 44% and 52%, a lower figure. 18. Some autistics have claimed that non-autistics are insensitive to their perspectives, and write parodies based on this, addressing what they call allism, a lack of autism, as a mental disorder characterized by lack of theory of other minds. 19. 20. Also, Jim Sinclair, who has also been a target of similar criticism from very early on, goes into detail about the politics of opposition to self-advocacy. 9. The controversy has erupted on autism email lists, where Kirby is used as a derogatory term for parents who are portrayed as slaves to conformity, so anxious for their children to appear normal that they cannot respect their way of communicating.
With my mom sometimes.
12. These parents respond that this attitude shows a typical autistic lack of empathy by suggesting that they should not try to help their children. Lenny Schaefer said that the autism-like lack of empathy of anti-cure activists prevent them from seeing what is in the hearts of pro-cure advocates. 21. Autism is not a disorder. Opinions are divided on the use of a jigsaw puzzle piece to represent autism, with some parents liking it and some autistic adults disliking it. 1. Autism is classified by psychologists as a disorder, for instance, in DSM-22, 23, and ICD-24, rather than the variation in functioning preferred by supporters of neurodiversity, with an attendant focus on the burden placed on society and caring for autistic individuals. Caring for autistic individuals has been compared to treating a patient with cancer, though extended over the duration of a normal lifespan. 25. Autistic children have also been described as being held hostage to a psychiatric disorder. 26. Boyd Haley, an anti-vaccine activist and early promoter of the debunked claim that the Marisol causes autism, labeled the disease as mad child disease, akin to mad cow disease, which some autistic individuals and their parents have found highly offensive.
I do.
27. 28. Margaret Somerville, founding director of the McGill Center for Medicine, Ethics and Law, said that with activism there is a direct goal and it is sometimes necessary to sacrifice complexity and nuance to make a point, but some autistic activists don't believe desperation justifies the rhetoric. 11. Bennett L. Leventhal said he understands concern about comparing autistic children to hostages but thinks the campaigns make the point that these are real diseases that will consume children if untreated. 26. Autistic rights activists also reject terming the reported increase in autism diagnoses as an epidemic, since the word implies autism is a disease. 29. Attempts have been made to place a figure on the financial cost of autism, addressed to both scholarly 30 and popular audiences. 31. These efforts have been criticized by some autism rights advocates, who compare them to similar calculations about persons with bad heredity, made by the eugenics movement in the early 20th century, a movement currently in disrepute. 32. Michelle Dawson has pointed out that no effort has been made to examine the cost of eliminating the disease to autistic individuals. 33. And she, as well as others, have also pointed out the valuable contributions autistic individuals can and have made to society. 33. 34. Dr. Temple Grandin has speculated that an autistic caveman probably invented the first stone spear, and that if autism were eliminated, society would lose most of its scientists, musicians, and mathematicians.
That's probably true.
35. 2. Some autistic activists say it is not easy to distinguish between high and low functioning. 12. Some autistic individuals, in contrast, are supportive of the distinction between the low and high functioning labels as well as autism and Asperger syndrome, and believe it is important in helping individuals get proper consultation and treatment. 36. Autistic people have their own culture. Further information, autistic culture and autistic art. Some autistic activists suggest that life with autism is very much like being born among people who speak a different language, have a religion or philosophy one does not share, and live a lifestyle that feels alien.
That is true.
To put it differently, autists have an individual culture that's often very different from their environment. Citation needed. Autistic people require inclusion in the autism debate. A common theme expressed among autism rights activists and neurodiversity groups is that they are different from parent and professional-led organizations and conferences that dominate the autism scene. Michelle Dawson criticizes the norm of allowing parents to speak on behalf of their autistic children at conferences to the exclusion of autistics. With the happy and proud collaboration of governments, courts, researchers, service providers, and funding bodies, she says parents have succeeded in removing autistics from the vicinity of any important discussions or decisions. This exclusion results in policy and treatment decisions being made solely by individuals who do not directly experience autism. 25. Jim Sinclair states that autism conferences are traditionally geared toward neurotypical parents and professionals, and that to an autistic person they may be quite hostile, in terms of sensory stimulation and rigidity. 9. In defiance of the common complaint that anti-cure advocates' ability to articulate complex opinions in writing, which some critics see as being impossible for autistic people. 37. Autistic adults such as Amanda Baggs use their own writing and videos to demonstrate that it is possible for severely disabled autistics to be autism rights advocates. 38. She says that when the critics assume that intelligent and articulate autistic people do not have difficulties like self-injurious behavior and difficulty with self-care, they affect the opinions of policymakers and make it more difficult for intelligent and articulate autistic people to get services. Baggs cites an example of an autistic person who was denied services when it was discovered that she could type. 39. Autism therapy is often unethical. Edit. Further information, autism therapies. Aspies for Freedom stated that the most common therapies for autism are unethical, since they focus on extinguishing harmless stimming, forcing eye contact, and breaking routines. AFF argued that ABA therapy and restriction of stimming, and other autistic coping mechanisms, are mentally harmful, that aversion therapy and the use of restraints are physically harmful, and that alternative treatments like chelation are dangerous. 4. Michelle Dawson, a Canadian autism self-advocate, testified in court against government funding of ABA therapy. 37. An autistic person named Jane Meyerding criticized therapy which attempts to remove autistic behaviors because she says that the behaviors that the therapy tries to remove are attempts to communicate. 12. Autism genes should not be eliminated. Edit. Since those in the autism rights movement see autism as a natural human variation and not a disorder, they are opposed to attempts to eliminate autism. In particular, there is opposition to prenatal genetic testing of autism in unborn fetuses, which some believe might be possible in the future. See heritability of autism. Some worry that this can prevent autistic people from being born. 12. On February 23, 2005, Joseph Buxbaum of the Autism Genome Project at the Icahn School of Medicine at Mount Sinai said there could be a prenatal test for autism within 10 years. 40. However, the
if I'd say that prenatal test need be banned. If it do happen, that's not good. My thing is that I would have banned it straight like that, and Burton did it, I would have probably arrested them. But I decided to join the autism right movement. That's the reason why. Fight against stuff like that. That is inhumane for people on the autism spectrum. Besides, ABA therapy is harmful. Cinnamon and all that. I still do it. I don't do that much as I did when I was younger, but really, I really thought ABA therapy helped me until I realized how much damage it did to people in the community. It's not right. Can't the people who are neurotypical see how much harm you do to them out there? Shop with and talk to us and ask how do we feel, and we might tell you like how that told you. Like I used my tablet to explain that. And those neurotypical parents who are like that, I'd say it. If I was a cop or like a senator, those parents, I would have been taking those kids who are on autism spectrum who deal with parents like that. How did that happen? Put them somewhere safer and put their parents in prison for it. If it was me, because one, you technically are putting your autistic kids or autistic family member in danger because you're so ignorant and thinking, oh, he should be like this. So that's one of the reasons why, and yet I do deal with it with my parents too. I do sometimes, same with my fiance or girlfriend Val. Same with my friend Anthony, he deal with it too. We all do. But it's something we need as in it's something they need to job. But yeah. And if you guys enjoyed me doing a video like that, where I do something like that with a tablet, I'll probably do some more. But whatever. But the voices for people like that and how we feel. That's the reason why I started doing the YouTube series. To get my voice out there for people like us. And there are people like that. And we're not this order. It's not. And it's not a disability. It's more like we're different in a minority. So, yeah. And I hope you people understand where I'm getting to. And I hope you guys enjoyed the video too. But yeah, I feel like them seeing that I was using on here with reading it, that actually was telling you guys on exactly how I feel and how our people in the autism community feel about what we feel, what are we, and what we deal on a daily basis. But yeah, if you guys to stop and to think and to talk to it and see how it feels, you might get an understanding. But I hope you guys enjoy the video and see what I've been talking about. And my friend Anthony, he'll be doing a book in 2019. But if you do and it come out successful, I'll be there helping him. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I hope you guys enjoyed the new change that I'm starting to do. And I hope you guys support me on talking about trying to find a new job. But yeah, I really do, and I hope you guys really do enjoy it. Oh, and the puppies are doing good too. But yeah. Should because Haven Town, but yeah. And I hope you guys enjoyed the video a lot, and I hope you guys really enjoyed it. But I really love doing it to help the autism community out. But yeah. And I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll talk to you guys later. Bye guys. Oh. So, bye guys.